Hello everyone, this is Mumbo and welcome back to another episode on the Hermitcraft server. It is episode 146 and today I'm going to start things off with something that may sound familiar to those of you who have been subscribed to my channel for a very long time, and also to those of you who know what the weather is like in England right now, because it is about 1 billion degrees in my studio right now. It is seriously hot. Every single time we get even the slightest warm bit of weather in England, I regret the fact that I haven't invested loads of money in air conditioning, because even though it's only hot for about 4 days a year in England, my room in the studio seems to just concentrate all of England's heat in one space and become absolutely sizzling hot. Ah well, Spoon Counter looks pretty cool, and so do these maps. I really like the previous episode of Hermitcraft. Anyway, it is no longer the previous episode of Hermitcraft, it is... I'd forgotten about doing that. It is the next episode of Hermitcraft, and today I want to start things off by doing a quick AFK fishing session, believe it or not. But before we do anything like that, I actually want to create a new storage system for the AFK fish farm, and I was thinking... I mean, the aquarium, it kind of makes sense to have the storage system in the aquarium. Lots of dead fish being stored in... I mean, it sort of makes sense. Well, things haven't exactly gotten off to a very strong start, so that's a no-go. Where else could we put it? Here? I mean, here seems pretty good, so we can fill up this slots that we've created here with chests and hoppers, and then as we AFK fish, the items will be transported over and dumped into this space. Right, that is part one pretty much all completed. If I just place in these final few hoppers right here, that should do the trick. So we have now got ourselves one full storage system all in place, and I've also put some item frames down there, which is just going to indicate that this is storage for the AFK fish farm. Now all I have to do is hook this up to the AFK fish farm, which is off in this direction. So I suppose route the items underneath, then take them across, and then up. Oh, that could make things a little bit more challenging. Okay, if I route it under here... No, we are definitely not dodging the lava lake that way. What about off in this direction? Okay, this looks a little bit more promising. So having poked around underground for quite a long time, I've discovered that that entire area over there is entirely surrounded by lava. There's just massive lava lakes all over the place. But thankfully, I have managed to find this tiny little gap here that I can use to put in my item elevator. So we're going to run hoppers across down the underside of our storage system there. We're then going to run them up into this item elevator, which narrowly dodges our sorting system and also actually involves part of the storage system wall here. So the items will travel up through the center there. They'll make their way up like this, go across in hoppers, and then end up in the storage system, which is around about here. This thing's actually now all connected up, so I can see there are some items flowing through. I'm guessing that's from, that's from these hoppers right here. So if we take a look, we should be seeing them actually dropping into the storage system. So pop through here, and in here. Yes, they are. Now let's take a look. Are any being lost in the lava that is next to this thing? It doesn't look like it. No, this is brilliant news. Look at that. It's traveling through the storage system wall. That's hilarious. Now that we know that this system works and is actually putting the items into the storage, it's time to do the full AFK session. So I'm going to get myself set up overnight, and we're going to see how many enchanted books we can get, because we're going to need tons of enchantments to fill up our quick kit system that we built in a recent episode. There it goes. I've just come back into the studio now, and we should see... Okay. Oh, to be fair, we didn't actually get as much as I was expecting. So we've got... There's a mending book. That's very helpful. We got Feather Falling 4. That's incredibly helpful as well. A lot of sweeping edge. Okay, it looks like we have got ourselves some pretty serious books in here. I'm going to take a look through. I wonder how high up it goes. Okay, it goes up to here. That's not too bad. And as I say, we've got some pretty serious books. Looting. Infinity. Mending again. This is brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Anyway, my plan for today's Hermitcraft episode is to do a little bit of work over in the gaming district, because I came over here in the previous episode of Hermitcraft, and I was just completely blown away by how much progress has been made. This place looks absolutely crazy, so I thought we'd pop over and create a handful of little mini games. So nothing too serious. Obviously, we've got the labyrinth over there. That's pretty big. What I thought we'd do is just a handful of small mini games that the hermits can come over and play for like 5 or so minutes, trying to get high scores and everything like that. It should be quite interesting. And of course, you guessed it, the first game that we're going to be building is the redstone mechanism that I actually built in the previous redstone video, which is my arcade basketball machine. I absolutely love this thing. It is so much fun to play. Alright, so the first thing that we've got to do is we've got to create the Mumbos minigame area. So I've done a tiny bit of terraforming here, and I thought we'd kind of make a plaza type thing and then build the games coming off it. So maybe the basketball thing would go about there, another one will go here, and then something else will go over there. Yeah, I think that sounds good. And I've just spent a bunch of time gathering up a ton of white concrete and also a ton of red concrete so that we have plenty of that to use for our blocks, because we want this to be really bright and colourful. Whoa! So we're on a mushroom island, so nothing can spawn. And that means that this area here is pretty much the only available spawning location in the entire area. And just look at how many zombies are just on their way to me right now. That's crazy. Right, so part 1 has now been constructed. So we have got the actual shell of this thing. We've got our hoop in place. We've got the water, which sends the basketballs back to the player. And then we're just going to place in all of the chests. So we need a couple of chests on the sides. That's where our score is going to be counted. So that's all done. Now we just have to do all of the redstone, which, to be honest with you, is actually really, really simple. Except I did have to do some pretty serious modifications to the design, because I built it a little bit too close to this walkway. So this has all been changed up, but now it should all be functioning. So there is the line that is going to be sending the redstone output through into our score counter. There is our score counting chest. We've got our slime block in place, but we don't have any terracotta. I'm going to grab that in the next couple seconds. And there is the button that actually starts this thing up. So by the sounds of things, that is actually working. The pulse extender is on. We have got the redstone firing. This dropper is sending out the items, so that will be shooting out the basketballs. Yeah, this seems to be functioning. And now it should be all finished. So if we grab ourselves this book, that should be it. So that's where all of the hermits can record their record scores in this thing. I suppose I probably should put some rules. Yeah, I should probably put some instructions on how to use it. But in terms of the actual build itself, you can see I've covered up all of the redstone now. So that's all looking good. We've covered up all of this area down here. I've kind of cleaned up this space. I've given people a rough idea of what the buttons do. Yeah, I think rules are the way to go. Otherwise, people are going to be a little bit confused by this thing. Oh, and I need to actually put the basketballs in. But other than that, yeah, this thing is all finished. Okay, so now that that's all finished and all completed, it's time to move on to the next minigame that we're going to be building in this Hermitcraft episode. So I would say, if we're looking at how we're actually going to build this thing, I would say one's going to go here, and then there's probably going to be another one there, and then maybe we'll have to loop this pathway around a little bit and kind of create almost like, as I said earlier on, a bit of a plaza. Now, I don't actually know what game I'm going to make here, so we're going to have to do some designing in the redstone testing world. But what I'm thinking is we have some form of reaction time based minigame. So if I just grab myself some redstone resources and start chucking in some pistons, what I was thinking is we could even use redstone lamps. No, I'd say pistons is a little bit better. So we have some pistons that are facing upwards. We're going to have maybe 4 pistons in total, just going across like this. And then in front of each of those pistons, we are going to have ourselves a button. In fact, the blocks will go up like this, and then, yeah, those blocks will pop up. And then in front of those pistons, we will have buttons. And what we need to do is we need to make it so that when this piston extends, the player then has to react by pressing the button while that block is still extended. And if they manage to do it, then we'll have an AND gate type system, which will detect if they've managed to pull it off. And then if they have managed to pull it off, they'll get a point. I don't know if that made sense in the slightest, but anyway, I'm gonna build it and then we'll demonstrate. All right, that's a little bit better. So part 1 has now been done. So every single time we run an input into this dropper down at the bottom, we will get a completely random output popping out of this thing. 1 in 4 chance of getting one of the blocks. Okay, that's brilliant. Now let's move on to the Angei system. So I've built a system, but it's pretty much impossible. Your reaction time would have to be within about 2 ticks, and I don't think anyone's brain is that fast. Right, I've now got this thing up and running to the point where it's very difficult, but not quite impossible. So if I put my scores back in there, this thing's just running indefinitely at the minute, so we currently have an empty score. Let's see. Okay, I didn't get a point on that one. I was a little bit too slow. It's still so difficult. I want to try and get at least 1 point. No, missed it. I missed it. Oh, it's so difficult. That was definitely a point. Yes, okay, so I managed to get 1 there. Oh, that's another one. Okay, we missed that one. As you can see, it's extremely difficult to get anything. I'm very good at these 2 buttons. These 2 buttons are fine. It's the ones on the outside that are tricky, but even then, yeah, that wasn't too bad. So there we go. That is the game. It's working well. Here is the redstone. Here is the redstone clock. All we need to do is do a similar sort of pulse extender system, and that will actually be this thing all set up. So let's get it built on the Hermitcraft server. Part 1 was pretty much almost complete with the full randomizer and everything like that, but I've built it in the wrong place. I don't really understand how I've managed to get my sizes incorrect here. This doesn't make any sense. That has now been fixed though, so that the main bulk of the redstone is now all connected up. Now what we need to do is we need to get ourselves some sticky pistons and actually create the AND gates for the detection system. So if we go underneath, I think the buttons are somewhere around about here. Now the way that we've done the AND gates is actually quite interesting. So we have redstone underneath the randomizer. That gets powered when the randomizer fires. Let's quickly get rid of that one. Not using a shovel. That's probably the way to go. And then we just have a repeater down here set to 4 ticks. And as the signal is sent through the randomizer, it will extend the piston up at the top, showing that that one has been activated. So you have to hit that button. And if you hit the button in time, this piston will then extend, allowing a redstone signal to travel through, connecting this redstone, which will then run into our score counter. Now obviously you need to make sure that when you actually hit your button, this piston extends in time for that redstone signal from the randomizer to reach this redstone to hit the score counter, because if you're too late, then the redstone will have turned off, and then obviously this redstone won't be activated. I hope that made sense. As far as I can tell, I think everything should now be finished. I mean, I've got all of the timing circuitry, I've got the input to actually start this thing up. I have the score circuitry, that's now all in place, so we've got that dropper out the front right there. We've got all of the pistons with the redstone lamps, we've got these blocks being powered. I think it's all done. I'm almost certain that it's all done. I'm going to do some quick checks and I have to fill up all of the droppers, but no, this has gone quite well. And now it looks considerably better as well. So we've got the same border going around the outside. I think I'm actually going to do the decoration of this space next, but before we do, I'm going to give this thing a go. Oh, that's not a good sign. What on earth is going on there? Okay, that's now all fixed up, and now this one is all completed as well. I've put in the record book, it's all finished. So we're going to be moving on to the next arcade machine, but before we do that, as I say, I want to do some of the decoration, and I want to work out what sort of style I'm going to go for with this place, and I really like the idea of having the ground area made out of blocks like this. I really like the way this looks. I think it looks awesome and it fits right in with the style of this entire space. So what I was thinking is that we build almost like, I don't know if I'm going to go quite as crazy as that, but definitely use these mixtures of different blocks in the space and create a colored area. In fact, you know what? I might actually make use of this. I hope ZAF doesn't mind. I know he's doing a lot of the terraforming and things around this area, but it looks like that color is actually mapped out to be used in this place. So maybe if we create our little zone out of those blocks, it could look quite good. And it definitely does. It really, really does look cool. So there we go. Those are like the basic groundworks. I'll probably do a little bit extra work on this area later on, but for now, I just want to get the final game in place because we want to have 3 games in this little area. The third one is going to be going off over here. And once again, I have absolutely no clue what it's going to be, so let's pop back into the redstone testing world. Okay, I've actually come up with a really cool idea, and this is based on an old concept that I had going on probably 2 or 3 years ago. I think I called it the Day at the Races machine, and what we're going to have is we're going to have some powered rails which go up like this, and they will randomly flick on and off. It will be based off a randomizer system, which means that we'll have some minecarts on these powered rails, and they will gradually race their way down, and it will choose a random winner. So the player who's playing the game will have to pick who they think is going to be the random winner, and then you run the system, and if you win, you win. If you lose, then unfortunately you lose. So here's what we've got so far. I've got the red going up, then I've got the white in the center. It actually looks quite cool, and here we have all of our minecart rails. This is going to be our button. When we hit this button, I guess that will send a signal through into these top powered rails, shooting the minecarts down, and then we'll have a set of randomizers once again running into each one of these minecart tracks, and they'll be flicking on and off, and then we need to have some way of resetting it. I guess we could probably do it on a pulse extender. So if we have this button on a pulse extender, then it will run for a certain amount of time, and then you can reset it using maybe something like a lever or another button on a pulse extender. Yeah, I think that makes sense, and I think that should work. Right, so let's see if this works. If we flick this lever here, that should have activated the game. Oh, okay, so that is... Alright, so we actually need to take out all of these blocks here, and we need to extend out these redstone lines because they're not actually powering any of these blocks. Okay, so if we just do something like this, then that should get these things up and running once we get some redstone in there. Okay, there we go. Now you can see how it's all going to be functioning. So the ones that are on the powered minecart rails obviously will move down a little bit. Then when they get unpowered, they'll stop, and they'll basically gradually trade places down to the bottom. Okay, right, so that's working. Now we need to just do the reset, which is powering all of these powered rails and powering all of these powered rails and sending them back up to the top. I think this just about does it for this machine. So if we flick the reset button... Okay, I've actually got everything the wrong way round, but that was looking good, but it seems to only power one side. Okay, let's work this one out. That's all now fixed, so it is time to start placing in all of the minecarts. So we need minecarts going on up at the top, and I suppose we should probably have... We probably should create some different colours for these things, but for the time being, activate. Okay, so there is our little race. That's a really satisfying thing to watch. And there we go. So that one has actually finished first. And then these things are going to run their course. We can flick off the activation. And then we hit the reset button. And that will send all of the minecarts back up to the top. And then we can play it again. This is really, really cool. I'm a big fan of this. And that's the winner, just about. Make sure the carts are at the top, reset. If not, pick which one you want to win. Then activate system and see who comes first. I think that's... Does that describe it well enough? In fact, take a look at all the instructions for this. We haven't actually got instructions for this one, so we'll write those out in a second. But hopefully all of this makes sense. Let's just quickly give this one a flick as well and just see if it's all still working. I could watch this all day. I absolutely love watching this thing functioning. So this time... Ooh! We got a joint win. 1 and 3. And then, yep, just flick that, and off they go. So simple. So simple. If I wanted to, we could add in like a betting system. But for the time being, we're just going to leave it as is. So there it is. After doing a little bit of cleaning up and adding in some extra handfuls of instructions and tweaking the instructions that we have left over and just making sure that everything's looking good, This area is now all finished for the time being. I might do some extra decoration in the area, maybe add in some bits on that hillside and things. But yeah, for the time being, that's it. So there is the little mini game section that I've created in the games district of the Hermitcraft server. So Hermits, if you're watching, if you do want to play any of these mini games just for a couple minutes, they're only tiny, then pop on over, test out your reactions, see how good you are at throwing basketball hoops, and also, I don't know, have some fun guessing, trying to work out which minecart is going to win in the Day at the Races minecart minigame. But there it is. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode on the Hermitcraft server. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button, and if you really loved it, then make sure to subscribe. But thanks for watching, guys. This has been Mumbo, and I'm out. I'll see you later.